Welcome into your Tiny Week Ahead reading. I am T from Tiny Cheeks Tarot, coming in to pull some cards with you. So, this reading is our week ahead. We get into the energy of the week, some words of wisdom for the week, some of the things that may come up or what to expect for this week, and the best self care. So, take your time, take a deep breath, pick the pile that you're drawn to, pick the charm that you're drawn to, and let's get into these cards. Welcome in pile number one. So you picked the pile with the snowflake just to give you a closer view of your charm. So the first card we have will be the general energy of your week. We have aquamarine, ease, clairvoyance. Your life needs new drive. Aquamarine gives buoyancy and ease paired with depth. Then we have your words of wisdom for the week. I remember it always. Fear wins or freedom wins, and I choose freedom. Okay, so it seems like the energy of your week it feels like a spark. It feels almost very like ace energy if we're thinking of like the tarot, like new beginnings kind of energy. It feels like even though we have the ease, there's motion and movement within this week. It feels like you may either be excited to get something started, or you're starting to feel like a fire under your ass for um a certain situation or certain energies, or even if it's like a tiny spark, but it feels like that may be part of what's coming or what the energy is this week. It also may be the opposite in terms of really leaning into the ease, and this week may feel just like very light for you and kind of fluffy and dreamy in a sense, right? With that clairvoyance energy, in the sense that you may have intuitively, like, you know what to do or where to go, or things are just like moving out of your way, or like things are just flowing for you this week, it seems. In terms of the words of wisdom, I remember it always. Fear wins or freedom wins, and I choose freedom. Again, it's to me speaking to the idea of you being able to dictate your time this week, or more easily have things work out in the way that you want them to, and not have to do what's subject to happening, you know? Let's pull some more cards and see more of the energy of this week for you. So for this one, I'm using the Psychic Tarot. These cards are the Healing Stones and the Motivation Manifesto. And I'll put all of the decks that I use in the notes. Okay. 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 Obstacles and difficulties, partnerships and alliances. You have the third eye. You have stand your ground. You also have the patience card. So, okay. It feels like this week you may deal with some things happening either with relationships, so in terms of the people closest to you. It's also depending on when you're watching this. When I'm recording this, Mercury goes into retrograde, or it is already um now, so that makes sense in terms of like it being relational, so like friends, coworkers, neighbors. This could also be partners, but it feels more so like not romantic relationships, right? That you may have issues or challenges with. And we have this patience card and the third eye card. So these two together are feeling like pick your battles, right? The stand your ground card tells me that this week you definitely may be you may be getting into it with some people this week, or there may be some disagreements this week, or you may have to set boundaries. But within that, choose, what and who we're actually going to fight with, in a sense, right? It also feels like this patience card with the ease and clairvoyance that we were talking about feels like that we may need to like separate in some senses. Okay, so if we have a situation where we are in disagreement, or are uncomfortable in a situation with a friend or a sibling or something like that, it may just be best for you to take a step back. You know what I mean? And I don't mean like I'm not talking to them ever again. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you set boundaries, right? The stand our ground card, and we're wise enough to know that like either this person is not going to get what I'm saying, or this there's an impasse here and I can't get past what it is, or whatever the case is, so that it's best for me to just step away from the situation. You know what I mean? Like that feels like part of what the energy is speaking of this week, right? Also with the partnerships and alliances card reverse, and then with the energy of the Mercury retrograde, whether you're watching this and it's in retrograde or not, if you're watching this and you're dealing with either a partnership situation where you're working with somebody else, or you're about to sign a contract with somebody else or something like that, I would look into everything, right? I'd look into the partnership. I'd look into the things that we were signing. I'd have somebody else that's outside of it that has absolutely nothing to do with it look at these things. I wouldn't be surprised if things may fall through with things that you may have, even if it's just something as small as plans that you were making with a friend or something like that. You know what I mean? And if this is the not the first time that this person has done this, then bring it up and say something about it. And you don't have to be nasty. Again, we're this whole week we have this third eye energy card. So everything that you're doing is from a place of your best and highest self, or a place of knowing, or a place of using your highest and best intuition. You know what I mean? Like, so in whatever situations you have of disagreement or discord or whatever, you need to step back and take 5 seconds and think, like, what am I trying to get out of this situation? Who do I want to be in this situation? You know what I mean? We're moving from our best and highest self. Okay, let me see if there's anything else in terms of the energy for this week from these cards. Oh, okay. We have trapped in fear and power. Okay. Hmm. Don't be afraid to stand up for yourself. I mean, if these people are in situations, excuse me, if these people are in positions of authority higher than you and you feel like you can't stand up for yourself, right? Number one, if this is a work situation, record everything, keep receipts of everything. Do not have in-person conversations. Make this shit in email. Put it in email, put it in writing, put it in text. Have all of your conversations stored somewhere or printed or wherever. Okay, so that if you have to make a case, if you have to take it to a higher up and have receipts so that they can do whatever actions that they're going to take on your behalf. You know what I mean? You want to have that information with you, right? um if it's a situation where you feel like if it's a situation where you're living with someone, is what I just started feeling like. If it's a situation where you're living with someone and you just kind of feel like, I can't really do this anymore, I don't like it just feels kind of like they're taking a lot out of you, or they're expecting more from you than they're giving, or something like that. um Again, with the patience, it feels like the timing of it, you know what I mean? Like, you can't get out just yet, but the even this patience card has this flower that has grown from this person's hand. And it feels like with the third eye and this and the trapped in fear, don't it almost feels like, don't rub your hands together, put your hands out, like the prayer hand emojis, or like expecting better is almost like the feeling I get. Also, the flower in the card feels like nature to me. So like, if you're in a situation where you feel uncomfortable, if you can get out, even if that's something as simple as like what they just said to me, it's not necessarily nature, but if you can like go to coffee shops or Barnes and Nobles or somewhere you can just sit and be for hours, and you don't have to be in that space all the time, then that's definitely something to do this week. If you're in a space with someone else and you feel uncomfortable, okay? Like, that felt very specific, but a thing. So let's pull some charms and see some of the things that may happen this week, what to expect. Okay, so we have our charms for this week ahead. The first thing we have is the shooting star over the trapped in fear and this Leo charm. So, again, it feels like if you're in a place of feeling fearful about anything or you're feeling anxious about anything, we need to bring in faith energy and we need to definitely bring in this confidence. Like Leos are very confident, even sometimes when there's absolutely no evidence that they should be. You know what I mean? Like it's bringing in this power energy. So if you need to live in a little bit of delusion in terms of like um, how confident you are until you feel that way, it's kind of like faking it till you make it. And bringing in this faith element to help boost that, to actually make it feel real, then that's part of definitely what needs to happen. Okay, we have this Eye of Horus. And to me, it was bringing back in that third eye energy, this wisdom energy, this, um, um, I forget what this is called. My brain just said the Saints because that's part of the logo, but it's called a fleur de lure, fleur de lire, fleur de lire, I think it's called. But again, because it made me think of the Saints, and it's under the shooting star and the Eye of Horus, it just brings back in that celestial higher self, but also like higher spirit, higher entity energy. So some of the things that you may see this week are um, like magical. You know what I mean? Like you may see some magical things. You may have things that happen that seem, otherworldly, or like that somebody, made happen, or somebody above made move for you, kind of thing. That definitely feels like what these things are bringing. You also have this bat here. So you can see a little bit better. And the quarter moon, which were both on the patience card. So again, like I was saying to you before, part of what you may have to have happen this week is that you may need to separate and remove yourself. Some of what may be brought up are like triggers or emotions of things that bring these situations that cause you to have these obstacles and challenges with certain people that cause you to have to step back. But when you step back, part of the moon card and this snake card, or excuse me, this snake charm that I'm getting, is that these two together, it feels like when in within stepping out of the situation and knowing that that's what's best for you, we also need to sit with like what has triggered us, why it triggers us, what comes up for us, and like move through the emotions of that for us, because that's part of sitting in your higher self. It's moving within, not just being reactionary or doing what your not best self wants you to do, but it's also sitting with what happened and what came up and why it came up that way, so that it doesn't come up that way again, or that the next time that it comes up, you immediately know what is happening and why it's happening, and maybe instead of moving away, you're able to more work through it because you're able to know what it's doing within you. You know what I mean? And so like it feels like what's coming up this week, part of it is like working on your emotional things coming up for you, being triggered by things, which makes you want to isolate and step back. We also have that snake too, which feels like people might be like biting at you in a sense. You know what I mean? So, or like something happening that feels like a sharp thing that happened, like a sharp pain or attack. You know what I mean? Or like something that, how somebody says things sometimes that it's like so quick, but it hits you in a certain way and you might not even realize it until later. You know what I mean? The dog bone also feels like a dog with a bone, like things we're carrying. You know what I mean? So again, it lends to that energy of us having to work through things that we may be triggered by, that we may have been carrying around. Traumas or situations or whatever that may have happened. Also within this, because the bone was on the partnerships and alliances, that's reversed. The bone that may be carried, someone may say that like something old that happened is still relevant to them that you didn't even know was still a thing, or vice versa. You may be holding on to something that they didn't know was relevant, and that shit comes up this week. You know what I mean? So these are some of the things I feel like they might come up this week. Be mindful of, you know, moving the ways in which are best for us to move. And since you know these things, you're able to better navigate what could come up, right? Also, your charm that you had was the snowflake. So, if it calls to you to do like clearing work, you may want to do that. Snow, you know, they say brings purity and things like that. So, um, yeah, let me see if there's anything else. Okay. We have the Knight of Wands and the King of Cups, and then the Ace of Cups. So, yeah, again, it just feels like we're doubling down on some of the emotional things that we're going through, on being our fiercest emotional self and knowing when to stand our ground and when to fight and when not to fight, and, you know, what we need to move through for ourselves to make ourselves the strongest and best version of ourselves and things like that. There's a lot of like the like what are you gonna do energy, you know what I mean? Like what would Jesus do in the situation energy, you know? Like I don't know if y'all are that old to remember that, but like that, it's giving that. Again, it also feels like there's this, you know, kind of wild manic energy, so you may get into it with people like we talked about. It may be you that's feeling real feisty, it may be them that's feeling real feisty, you know what I mean? You may need to stand up and fight for yourself. We have the stand your ground and the power card, right? You may need to um get out of a situation where you're trapped in fear and really just like go hard, just to really like let somebody know, actually you've been doing this and this is not how you're going to treat me anymore, you know? Like that's definitely been a theme. And this weekend I did readings and on my IG story, and part of the theme of this weekend was people really standing up for themselves and saying like, hey, like I'm not taking this shit anymore, you know? And then also within the Ace of Cups, it feels like we have this, like I was saying before, about this ease and um it feels like a renewal kind of energy. It feels like this for some people, and for some parts of our weeks, it can just feel really easy and really nice. And like we're excited to start new things and to see what could come from situations, or see, you know, what we can make happen kind of thing. You know, it feels very like, it feels, what am I trying to say? Like there's parts of it that do feel very exciting. I mean, even with this card, there's excitement and there's action and there's movement. You know what I mean? Even within the snowflake, like snow is actionary. There's movement. It's soft and it can be quiet, but you can look outside and that shit is, you know, 6 feet high. So it makes an impact. You know what I mean? So this week will be, it feels like definitely impactful. It feels like there could be some fiery dynamics this week. There could be some heavy emotions that we're moving through this week, but within what we just talked about, you definitely have the tools to like work through it. So let's get some self-care cards and see what the best self-care is for this week, and any other messages we may need to give. Okay, so we have our self-care cards. Shuffle real quick and see what your best self-care is for this week specifically. They have connect with the earth. Aromatherapy. Okay. I like the groundingness of it all. So, connecting with the earth can definitely be going outside, like I kind of talked about earlier in the reading, it can also be you can ground by putting your hand in your plants or laying on your floor, especially if you have wood floors or stone floors, or, kind of like laying hands on your countertop, on your granite or marble countertop, or your whole face or body on there if you need to. You know what I mean? Um, excuse me. You can connect with the earth by watching, things that connect you with the earth, like Planet Earth or other, nature documentaries. Or I think it's probably Shark Week, depending on when you're watching this at this time. Now that I'm recording this, it probably is. It's usually in the summer. Um, but working with your crystals, there are many ways to work and connect with earth, right? And part of what this is really talking about is like coming back into yourself. And especially when you have like fiery energy, when we're anxious, when we have disruptions, when there's like a lot of air and fire energy, part of what you need to do to be your best self, to be able to hear your intuition, or to be able to see with that third eye wisdom that we were talking about, is to be able to ground and come back inside and come down, you know what I mean, and into you. Because when we are too far outside of ourselves, we can't discern what is from what isn't. We can't discern fear from intuition, from guides' voices, to, see what it all is, and really get clear answers. And so part of why connecting with the earth is best for you this week is because there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of dynamics with other people. There's a lot of, like I said, fire and air energy. And so we need to come back down and ground in so that we can go out, so we can go back out, so we can make the best decisions when we're out in the world, so we can know when to come back into ourselves, so that we can know when to isolate and to separate, and that be the best decision, and the best thing that we need to do. We also have the aromatherapy card, and again, it's like bringing you back to me, right? There's times when a scent can like take you to a specific place or bring you to a specific mood. And so certain, aromatherapies can calm you down. And in certain situations this month, we definitely need to be calmed down. In certain situations this month, we definitely need to be brought back into our body and out of our anxious mind, or out of our fearful mind. And there are definitely different scents and you know, herbs and flowers and things that you can work with to help bring you that, to bring you back when you need to be brought back, or to even keep you in a stable mind. You could wear some lavender all the time, and that could keep you balanced enough that when things happen, you don't even react. You're constantly just smelling yourself and feeling good and not really caring what's going on with other people. So like that feels like what this card is about in terms of your self-care for this week. So I hope that this makes sense. Definitely let me know what you think about the reading in the comments. I'm so appreciative that you've read with me. If you have another pile, I will see you there. If not, if you would like your own personal reading, definitely book with me. Wildheartbotanica.com. All of the links are below, and I will see you for our next reading. Welcome in pile 2 to your tiny week ahead reading. We are going to break down the general energy of your week with your first card and the words of wisdom for the week. So the pile you picked is 2. Your charm is the strength card. Your energy of the week is peridot, tolerance. Allow mistakes. You are allowed to make mistakes. With peridot, you forgive yourself, gain self-worth, and become more open-minded towards others. The stone allows you to be authentic. The words of wisdom you have for this week are: life can lose its vibrant aura and charm if we do not bend the energy of our mind towards positive engagement and appreciation. Okay, so the general energy of your week initially, it feels like it may be a little annoying. It may be a little annoying, especially if, like this is saying, you feel like you're making mistakes, or things just keep happening, or things are not in alignment with the way that you want them to be, or you're feeling kind of down on yourself. Um, especially with the life can lose its vibrant aura and charm. It just feels like gray. It feels like if pile one had a color, it might have felt like red, and this feels more so like the week might feel gray, you know, especially if we don't heed whatever the advice is that's coming. So let's pull some cards and see what else the energy of the week is speaking to. Okay. I like that. Okay. Hope, wisdom, deception, envy. Hmm. Okay. Spiritual strength on the bottom. Okay. So, energy of the week. It feels like you may be being too hard on yourself. While things may not be going right, it feels like the energy of this week wants you to be hopeful in the midst of strife or stress, right? It feels like if you actually step outside of your head, things may not be as bad as you feel like they are. And it feels like if it comes in heavy in the beginning of the week, and you know how like something happens and then the next thing that happens it just feels like everything is happening to me, you know what I mean? It's like if we take them as they come in steps, then it won't feel as cumbersome, or like, you know, you won't have the same woe is me gray feeling that you have now, right? It's like because what it feels like may happen this week is that like two things may happen that are annoying, right? But then four things happen after that that aren't annoying. But then a third thing happens that's annoying at night, and all you remember are those three things. You're not remembering the things that are happening in between. You know what I mean? And it feels like this is this is part of why it may feel like things are harder, or like, you know, things aren't coming together like you want them to be. Yeah, that's part of it. Part of the other energy of this week with the spiritual strength card. Let me move these up a little bit so you can see that. With the spiritual strength card and the wisdom, it feels like part of the energy of this week is about feeding yourself, you know? So, if you literally have not been eating or feeding yourself, I need you to start eating regularly, like 3 meals a day type shit. Okay. If you are needing to feed yourself spiritually or mentally, so meaning like if you're getting like self-help books, or if you want to start feeding yourself with self-love, or start doing affirmations, or start watching um watching things that build you up. So it feels like Oprah used to have this series where she would bring on like thought leaders, and I do not remember what it was called at all, but they would have different conversations about life and about spiritual practices, or you know, spiritual ideas or religion and things like that. And it feels like part of the energy of this week is about feeding yourself spiritually so you can get out of this gray place, or you can get out of this gray feeling, or you can get out of not being able to perceive things as they are when there is good to be seen, right? You have these little inferences of light even in the back of the deception and envy card and in the spiritual strength card. So it feels like even within the things that may be happening this week that feel, like I said, it just feels like cumbersome or like annoying. You know what I mean? There are moments of light. And so we need you to hold on to those and celebrate those and be grateful for those, and like call in more of those and sit in that more. You know what I mean? Sit in that energy more. Because again, it feels like the deception and envy to me, especially under the fulfillment of wishes, feels more so like you deceiving yourself or you convincing yourself that things are not great or not good when there are some things that are, even if everything isn't, or that everything isn't as bad as you think that it is. You know what I mean? More so than it feels like it has to do with anybody outside of you. Okay. So the energy of this week definitely has to do with you, and how you perceive your world and how you um, take account of your wins and your losses and evaluating that, right? And I feel like even the charm you had, the strength card, speaks to that. You know what I mean? The strength cards a lot of times speaks to not just using brute force, but like softness is strength, you know? And so to me, it speaks to more so like, instead of just like screaming about all the things that are wrong, like let's start taking quiet account of like the things that are right, and more so being, and not even quiet account, but being louder about that than we are about the shit that's not. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's pull some charms and see some things that may happen this week or what to expect. And I apologize, y'all, it's a little loud. That's funny, we got the dog bone in the first one. Okay, so we have a troll and, oh, the horse, and then a seashell, and a sacred heart, and a dog bone. So it's interesting. We had the dog bone in pile one, and what I said in pile one was that it felt like people are carrying things, whether it's like from past situations or things that people have done, or past traumas, and we're like carrying them around. And to an extent, it feels like this is similar. And it's funny, I've never seen this bone like that so many times, but it feels similar to that, especially because we have it between the deception and the envy and the spiritual strength card. It feels like there are ways of thinking about yourself or things that you've been telling yourself about your life that you've been holding on to that may have been true at one point, but no longer are true. And even the troll feels like it could go either way, right? When I see the troll, when I first got the troll charm, I remember I showed it to a friend, a couple of friends, and they were like, ugh, troll, because they saw it as like negative, you know? Whereas I saw the troll, I used to play with trolls as a little kid, and they used to have the jewels in their belly, and I used to like do their hair and cute little buns. And I like trolls. Trolls to me were playful energy, you know? And so even within this reading, I feel like the trolls can go either way. It feels like part of the troll energy is you trolling yourself and you trolling your life. You know what I mean? And like being like this long, like emo bit sometimes and needing to let go of that energy, and also the troll being you seeing your life in a more playful fun energy, right? And wanting to have more of the good things that happen, especially with that horse. It just feels like movement and galloping ahead in the goodness. We have it over the wishes fulfilled, galloping ahead in things you want as opposed to things that you don't want. You know what I mean? Even with the seashell and the hope, it's like I feel like the seashell was given, like, you know how you go to the beach and you pick up seashells. Like I said, it's about you picking up the moments in your life that things go right, or where you're able to call in the shit that you want, or where you're able to manifest something and see, you know, what you said happen, or have unexpected surprises that are good instead of bad, and really picking up those moments and sitting in that instead of, the negatives, and sitting in what could happen, because sometimes it's not even the things that have happened that are bad, but like you will call in these things that like haven't even happened. You know what I mean? Because at this point you just expect it, and then they happen because you're calling it in, let's pull a little bit more and see if there's anything else to expect um to happen this week. Yeah, again, it feels like with you even changing the energy, you know how sometimes you'll start to try to form a new habit, and then like the worst characteristic that you're trying to get rid of tries to just come full force. It feels like as you start to do this again, like it's not that things won't happen this week, right? But everything is not as fucked up as it seems, and it won't be as fucked up as it seems, even if like random little things are disrupted, right? Or you have upsets. Let's see. Anything else specific for pile two for this week? Oh, I'm trying to put the pile down. Okay. Okay, so we have the Knight of Coins, the Two of Swords, and the Three of Swords. Um, okay. This specifically feels like don't cut your nose to spite your face. Um, and don't do things that you don't want to do this week. Don't overextend yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to do things that aren't actually yours to do, or aren't your problem, or aren't your issue to solve, or are not within your capacity, right? Don't do things that are not within your capacity. Really sit with yourself and ask yourself before you say yes to things this week. Have your first answer be, I don't know. For whatever it is this week, have your first answer be, I don't know, because this is feeling like overextension. It feels like burnout. It feels like um, doing too much for someone or something else and then having it hurt you in the end. You know what I mean? So be mindful of that. And then we have the Knight of Coins energy. It feels like people may be looking at either relocating, especially in terms of job. Like people may be looking, start looking for new jobs this week, or thinking about looking for new jobs, or um, looking at new locations in terms of places to work, or something like that. It feels like people may also be looking to travel. So people may start planning vacations this week, or like looking for things to do, even if it's not actually going somewhere. You may just be looking for, it feels like people may be looking for things to do this week, like activities or adventures, and planning things to do. The cow is also given that outside energy. Um, so people may be trying to get outside, or like literally going to like a petting zoo or a safari, like Six Flags safari type energy. That may be something you're doing this week as well. So yeah, and then there's also a lot of water in these cards. So you have water in this card here, you have water here. So people may be getting out in the water because the cards, I don't love these cards with the water. I would say be careful if you're going swimming. Like this is super shallow, so don't just dive into something if you're going somewhere you've never been before. Okay. Be careful of if you're doing like a fire on the beach, be careful of like fires. And then this is giving whirlpool energy in the back. So be careful of riptides if you're going to the beach or to, some kind of water source. Be careful of the tide and the current and things like that. Okay. So this is what to expect for this week. Let's end the reading off with your self care for this week. Okay. So we have use your hands, make a vision board, and connect with your ancestors. So, um, it makes a lot of sense, right? To me, especially the make a vision board. We talked a lot about before, the ideas that you have of yourself, or how you may not see the best in your life, and that may cause you not to call in or expect the best for your life. So it makes sense that part of what would be best for this week is to actually sit with the things you want and not the things that you don't want. And so looking at images, pictures, images and pictures are the same thing, excuse me. Looking at images, words, you know, putting them all together, whether it is literally on a poster board or even a piece of paper, or if you're doing a digital collage and doing it in Canva or something like that, or you're doing a Pinterest board, something where you can see different things that you want to bring into your life, that you want in your life, not the things that you don't want, but the things that you want to see, so that you can start to bring them in and call them in and have your wishes be fulfilled, excuse me. Within that energy, you also have connect with your ancestors, and like the people that came before you want better and the most awesome life that you can have for you. They prayed for that. They believed in that for you before you were even a thing, before you existed, right? And so utilizing, working with them, and understanding them, and therefore understanding more about who you are and why you may have some of the feelings about yourself that you do, or why you may be hard on yourself the way that you are, whatever it is, may help, you to build yourself back up, especially looking at yourself through their eyes, right? And then we have use your hands, which feels like part of using your hands is getting out of your head and just creating something. And part of the use your hands, if you do actually do something where you use your hands, don't have it be something where it has to be perfect. Don't, do sip and paint and you want your picture to look exactly like their picture. That's not what we're doing. Whatever your activity you're doing with your hands is just something that you're doing to get yourself out of your head, and however it looks at the end is how it's supposed to look. It doesn't matter if it looks exactly how the other thing looks. It's not about modeling it, it's not about perfection. Okay. And so keep that in mind. If you are going to do something where you use your hands, whether it's cooking or painting or, pottery or whatever it is you decide to do, it is not about perfectionism. It's about doing it so that you have an activity that gets you out of your head and either into your body or into your space or into feelings of joy or ease or comfort or whatever it is. Okay. So this is your week ahead reading. Please let me know how y'all like this reading, if it resonates, how it makes sense. If you would like to book your own reading, I would love to read with y'all. You can book at wildheartbotanica.com. The links are below. And thank y'all so much for reading with me, letting me read with y'all. And I will see you in the next reading. Welcome in pile 3 to your tiny week ahead reading. Let's get into your cards. So the first thing we have is your charm. You have the peach charm. Then we have your energy for the week, the general energy. You have amber, creativity and warmth. Reconnect with your inner child. Amber will help you to achieve childish candor, happiness, and joy of live. I think they mean life. And then we have your words of wisdom for the week. Love was never absent from our lives. It is not bound in our hearts or in our relationships, and thus it is not capable of being owned or lost, excuse me. We have allowed our awareness of love to diminish. That is all. Okay. So it feels like the general energy of your week based on your card and your words of wisdom um, is bringing in fun. Like it feels like the energy of this week should be fun and playful and maybe even a little sensual. And, we have this peach, which can also, be a little booty, you know. So there may be like some booty rub energy up in here. We have the warmth as well. So that's interesting. Also, it may be like the energy of the week may be reminiscent, like you may be reminiscing about past love or reminiscing about wanting to feel happy or comforted or nurtured, or like I'm thinking of energy that you feel as a child, you know what I mean? You also feel like playful and free and like more able to kind of be yourself when you're a kid, you know what I mean? So it feels like that's kind of the energy of this week for your week, like free and playful and could also be like a little bit romantic and sensual, but like, just like this, it feels very like this. If that makes sense. It feels like coloring energy, I mean, like you're allowed to color outside the lines, the colors are pretty, and you kind of make whatever you want with it, and it feels like that's kind of the energy of your week. So let's pull some more cards to see some more of the energy of this week for you. So we have the harmony, the sacral chakra. Yeah, so it definitely, this week feels very like love. This week feels um like it could be romantic, or it could be very sensual, or it could be um like I said, very comforting, even just outside of actual relationships with others. This, it could just feel like people are giving you compliments, and like, people could be like buying your food, or people could, tell you you smell nice, or just hand you flowers, or like, if that's not literally happening, you could be walking around feeling very like you're that person, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it just feels very, and not just like a confidence, it feels more like a sensual energy, it's giving more Venusian than it is like sun energy, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, interesting. Okay. We also have the awareness card, and I feel like this third eye intuition energy has gone throughout all three of our readings. So this to me again though feels like um in alignment with the harmony and the sacral aspect of it. So just feeling supported celestially, um feeling like you're getting the like ideas are coming to you, or like you're able to hear the guidance that's coming to you, or you're able to perceive the omens and the signs that are happening, like that's part of what that card also feels like. Let me see if there's anything else from this deck in terms of the energy of this week for you. Oh, hold on, my fell. Okay, so we had the heartache and loss and the disruption card. So again, part of what might be coming up in terms of that love energy and that romance energy that we were talking about is like reminiscing, or you know, sitting with longing in some ways, you know what I mean, of like not having this, or not being in the space where you want to be, even if you are with someone, you know what I mean? That might be some of the energy that comes up this week. Or if it's more so like grief energy, it may not have anything to do with like the romantic aspect of it. Or even if it does, they could be from a place of being mournful, or like grieving something that no longer is, Okay. So that is the energy of this week. Let's pull some cards and see, or actually, let's pull some charms, I should say, and see what are some things to expect, or some things that might happen this week. And I apologize again. I apologize already to the other two piles. The charms are a little loud. I knew we were going to get this. I knew we were going to get the love potion bottle. I just had a feeling. I just knew it. Anyway, okay. So we have the love potion. We have the Eye of Horus. We have the spider. We have the seashell. And we have this rubber ducky. We have a pink moon, and the angel is watching. Okay. So I knew we were gonna get this love potion. Like I said, some things to expect this week. There's definitely this love energy. So I don't know if y'all are dating. I don't know if you're having a romantic week. I don't know if y'all are getting some cutty. It's like, but something's happening. There's definitely this soft energy coming through for you this week. So it just feels like there's something romantic. So if it's not a literal romance, then you may be, romanticizing your days, or like living life like you're the main character in a movie kind of energy. You know what I mean? Like, that may be part of what comes up this week. um, yeah, the spider within the dating part of it, don't get tangled in things this week. Like, don't be watch out for entanglements. I don't even know exactly what that means, but that's what I got. Like, I saw a web and it was like, and I don't know. Watch out for entanglements, whatever that means. I know what entanglements are, but you know what I'm saying? Whatever that means to you, like, that could be a thing that happens this week. But this also feels like you could finally be like getting it in with somebody that you either haven't seen in a while, or somebody that like you've been wanting to um horizontal, what do you call that shit? I can't remember what it's called right now, but somebody you've been wanting to do, because I can't think of better words for that, right? That you like finally like get your prey kind of energy. Like, it feels like that could be part of it. We have the rubber ducky, so this is giving taking like soothing baths, taking more time in your shower or your like routine to do like extra self-care, and not like because I need it for my skin or this and that. It's more so like making it more of a spa like feel, making it something that's more comfortable, making it something that feels like relaxation and comfort, you know what I mean? To your routine and to your habits. This also feels like the rubber ducky feels like play this week. So some of the things you may want to do are like go out to maybe an arcade, or go skip rocks, or do something that you used to do as a little kid. You know what I mean? If you see somebody outside jumping rope, go jump rope, lean into that playful, um that playful energy, lean into things that like make you feel good and like fill you up and make you feel loved. That's definitely part of the energy. We have the angels watching, and the eye of horus, and again, like the other cards, it feels just like your steps and your steps are guided, right? And you're being called to kind of play around with life, and you're being told by the angels that you're protected. Like, whatever you want to do, you have the freedom to kind of let yourself live a little bit and have more fun and be, a little bit, like my brain just said, a little bit more loosey goosey. A little bit more loosey goosey with it. You know what I mean? Because you are protected. Angels are watching over me. Like, you don't have to be so hyper protective or hyper focused. You know what I mean? You're allowed to loosen up and have fun, and allow somebody else in. You know what I mean? If it's one of those situations, or to allow yourself to allow your body to have a release, you know what I mean? And have somebody touch you and you touch them, and that be it, and just feel good in that moment and not think about, all of the things that may come after or make it bigger than it has to be or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, our bodies need to have sex. So like, there's that. Okay. So these are some of the things that are coming up in terms of what to expect, or some of the things that may happen this week. Let's end off your reading with the best self-care for your week. So, okay. So we have sync with the moon, massage, and burn bowl ritual. Okay. So In terms of syncing with the moon, syncing with the moon has to do with the phases of the moon. And also, I just heard in my head, could do with the mansions of the moon. If you're somebody who works with the mansions of the moon or is interested in learning more about that, or if even me saying that, you're like, what does that mean? I want to know what that means. Google it, learn more about it, and then utilize the energies of each mansion to do certain works and or to, you know, build that energy within your life. If it's not like a magical practice working kind of way, but to build it into the habits, or utilizing the energy to build your days or your calendar around that, but like something like that. So you can use, like I said, either the moon phases, like you see on the card, or the actual or mansions of the moon, or other aspects of working with the moon and the different phases of the moon. And the different phases of the moon all carry different energy, similar to, like I was saying, with the mansions of the moon, or even working with your own astrology and your where your moon is in your chart, or what sign your moon is in, things like that can help in terms of working with the energy that's already around you in the world. So it brings a certain ease when you work with the energy of where the tide is going, in a sense, right? So for example, if it's a full moon and it's a time to let go and to release, it's not necessarily the best time, maybe, depending on the moon and the energies, to try to start something new. It may be more of a time to clear shit out, to make room so that when you start something new, it can actually flourish, and vice versa with a new moon, or working with waning phases or waxing phases or whatever. So that's part of syncing with the moon, right? And like I said, syncing with the energies of what's going on can help make easier flow for you, not only within what you're trying to do, but like within your capacity, you know what I mean, and helping you understand how the world works and how other people flow and how you flow. Okay. You have massage. So one of the best self-cares for this week is to get a massage. Again, we have that touch, we have that sensuality, we have that comfort and that release, energy. So all of that comes into what we were already talking about with that massage. Then you have the burning bowl ritual. The burning bowl ritual is being able to write down and release again. So it's either writing down what you want to bring in, or it could be writing down things that you no longer want to carry, or you no longer want around you, things you want to like banish and get rid of, you know what I mean, whether they're ideas or literal situations or people or whatever it is, right? And the same goes with things that you want to bring in. You can also use the energy of fire to birth things as well, so all of these are self-care practices that you can lean more into this week, and I feel like will help with the energies of what we're going through and what we're trying to tap into. So let me know, pile three, what you think about your reading. Let me know if everything makes sense. Thank y'all so much for reading with me and allowing me to read with you. If you would like to get your own reading, please book with me at wildheartbotanica.com. The link is below. And other than that, like I said, let me know how your reading was, and I will see y'all in the next reading.